What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Now Kicking Knowledge. Today, we'll be taking a look at the upcoming Mercury retrograde cycle in the sign of Scorpio. So, let's get into it. We've been speeding through 2020. I don't know about y'all, but the sense of time is just completely accelerated these days. And right now, we're going into our last and final Mercury retrograde of this year, and it happens to be occurring in the sign of Scorpio. And I gotta tell you, this is probably the second Mercury retrograde in Scorpio that I'm really in tune with. And the last one, as well as the Venus retrograde cycle in Scorpio from a couple years ago, are extremely powerful periods in time. So let's start with some basics. We know that Mercury retrograde is a time where that particular energy is turned inwards, and we're known to be a lot more reflective. For some of us, we overthink things more than normal. There's that thing where everything, electronics, not to sign contracts, yada yada yada. We know that, right? And you always want to keep these things in mind, all right? And I just reiterated that for anyone who may be new to this may be your first Mercury retrograde cycle. There are other videos I have and that others have in which you can really learn about that, okay? So there's a couple do's and don'ts during Mercury retrograde. But this Mercury retrograde is going to be, like I said, occurring in the sign of Scorpio. It's going to go retrograde October 13th at 11 degrees Scorpio, and it's going to go all the way back to 25 degrees Libra. And you know, when I looked at this and meditated on it, I was just really taken back and hopeful for what can transpire from this particular retrograde cycle. So there's a focus on healing with this particular retrograde cycle. So the energy, all retrogrades have the potential to heal or to rework, to redo, right? Refine, fix up, do again, right? See from a different perspective. Now, with the energies of Libra and Scorpio, they really speak towards finding balance as well as purging. Scorpio is a sign of death. And in spirituality, death brings new life, okay? So at this particular time, there is something in your life, whether it be a thought form, how you think, whether it be emotionally, how you relate to others, how you experience intimacy, whether it be sexually, your perception of sex, your beliefs behind sex, right? All of these things will take center stage during this Mercury retrograde cycle, and it offers you the ability to bring balance towards all those things and ultimately experience new life. So our old ways of relating within those areas, sexually, mentally, and emotionally, they need to come to an end. Scorpio of all is a fixed sign. So this retrograde is going to force you to confront where you're rigid in your thinking or where you're too fixed, right? And like I said, the death of these particular things is going to lead to a renewed sense of balance. So I want to start with, before I get into like real themes, like I want to use the aspects. So the day that Mercury actually turns retrograde is always seen as the positions of the planets at that time are always seen as the overall theme for that particular cycle. And going with that, we can see here that Mercury is opposing Uranus, and it'll be retrograding back over that. This is like a really heavy influence. So I want to start here with the sense of letting you guys know that mentally, when it comes to your intellect, when it comes to your thought forms. There's going to be a real need to focus this energy. Uranian energy can be erratic. It can strike like lightning. And when that comes together with Mercury, we have a ton of downloads and aha moments. So what you really should do is pay attention towards the previous week when Mercury direct was contacting Uranus. How was your mental? What were the things on your mind? And the things on your mind will give you an indication of where to focus that mental energy during this retrograde cycle. And another way this shapes out is that we have the ability to liberate ourselves on many different levels, but specifically through our thinking and through our intelligence. So I'm encouraging everyone to dive deep into some specific area of your life and use your ability. One thing about this age of Aquarius that we in, that there are so many resources at our fingertips that can help us understand any issues or problems that we have. So part of your healing is going to be about using your intelligence to find logical solutions towards overcoming your problems. Okay? But there's a real chance for liberation and deeper insights. During this retrograde cycle, whatever is ailing you, whatever that needs to be let go, it's going to be right in front of your face. It's going to be on your mind. The only way to take advantage of this is to do what needs to be done, to bring death to what no longer serves you. Clear out your mental baggage and psychological muck. That's another thing I like to associate with Scorpio. This is a very cleansing period. Then we look at Mercury sextiling its own sign of Virgo, where the moon would be in Virgo that day and the moon would be in Venus that day, which shows that for this particular cycle, you gotta do the work. You gotta pay attention to the details. Create a routine which is conducive to your growth at this time. See what no longer works for you. Venus is like, okay, how can I improve myself? What don't I like about myself, and how can I work towards overcoming these things and refining these qualities? The moon sextile this Mercury retrograde is really interesting, because what it does is it increases our intuition and our ability to, like I said, know what needs to come to an end, as well as be conscious of higher dimensions of information or whatever. Okay? The next way that this one plays out, and this is going to be another theme, because this is the sign of Scorpio, and because it's going to go back into Libra, relationships, our relationships with others, whether romantically or platonically or family-wise, whatever, is going to be of importance. Whether it is you or someone you are close to, situations can arise in which you have the ability to keep a secret, or secret activity may transpire. This Mercury sextile moon lets you know that if you have suspicions, to pay attention to those suspicions. But the rule of thumb for the Mercury retrograde is to not accuse or attack anyone, because even if you're right, you won't get your message across correctly. So observe. I attribute this part of this retrograde towards really seeing with that third eye and feeling your way through situations, but then using your logic to make sense of things. All right? So there can be an air of deception. There can be. Now, mind you, that something may occur where you find something out and you're like, man, what should I do? Right? hold it. Hold the information. If you need to tell, don't keep the secret from the person forever, but I would say allow the retrograde to take center, to unfold. That person may discover the secret for themselves. If not, when the retrograde is over, you have full license to let them know. All right? So be aware of secretive things transpiring. All right? The next point that I want to make here is that Mars, the days ago, Mars is also going to be opposing the Sun. Mars retrograde. And this Mercury retrograde is linked with this Mars retrograde for the simple point of finding a solution to our problems. Mars has been squaring the shit out of Saturn for a while. And I know for some, you've been struggling with, directing your will. Or it could be numerous things, depending on where it's at your chart. You could be struggling, with escapism. You could be struggling with doing what you need to do. You could be struggling with standing up for yourself and saying what needs to be said. Whatever fears, right? And fears that need to be overcome. This Mars opposing the Sun is an indicator that our will is going, the more we can direct our will, the more we can discipline this Mars in Aries, which is just really like a wildfire, the more balance we're able to obtain within our life. So you're working with Mercury, but you're also working with Mars here. So we're monitoring our thoughts. We're diving into new information, but we're also keeping with the same theme for the last couple weeks. Have patience. Be strategic. Take the long route. Okay? So the more you can consciously direct your will towards what is fair, what is right, what you're towards overcoming your fears, the greater sense of balance you're able to obtain. All right? So a couple things here that I think would be great, and many of I've talked about like semen retention in the past. It's something that's been a part of my journey and things like that. Even if I'm involved and I'm still able to express this part of myself, and so my advice to you is that I also see this because this is Scorpio energy and then Libra energy with the balance. I think that one of the things all humans, it doesn't matter where this is in your chart or whatever, anybody could benefit from abstaining from sexual activities, whether this be actual sexual intercourse with another or masturbation. You want to become conscious of your sexual energy and how the building of that sexual energy influences your thinking, your creativity, your overall self-esteem, and lastly, sense of balance. Put it like this. Whatever, because this Mercury retrograde is going to carry over into Scorpio season. But even if you're abstaining for 2-3 weeks, and when Scorpio season comes about, those feelings are going to rise to the top. It's going to make sex all the more better. This abstinence from it is going to make your sex life all the more better. It's going to allow you to have a greater fulfillment within this era or appreciation for this realm. So if this is one of the things you've been struggling with, I'm telling you, embark on a little bit of abstinence during this time. It'll be the best thing you could do. And I guarantee you'll be able to tap more into that Uranian energy and vibrate a little bit higher. So that's my food for thought with it. The next thing I want to say in regards to the area of relationships, intimacy, which is a huge theme, is you want to find different ways of experiencing or expressing intimacy. So, with Mercury being communication, naturally for some, this is definitely going to be a time where by doing the inner work, the self work, is going to strengthen your own personal relationship. Because our relationship with ourselves ultimately reflect within our relationship with others. So I would say start by getting more honest with yourself, building a bigger layer of communication with yourself, and then allowing that to seep into your relationships. Ultimately, I guess what I'm saying is like, and this has been a huge theme in my own development, be vulnerable. You know, I feel like with all water signs, there's a layer of needing to let go. And for some, like I said, part of your transformation is going to be about letting go of the control over your thoughts and how you relate to love and all of that. All right. So take it as someone who's embraced that, and it's made things a whole lot better. Okay. So find different ways of connecting intimately with a partner. Right. Let's say you're having this retrograde in like a third house, a ninth house, 11th house, 12th house, 5th house. Share more of your intellectual, spiritual, creative ideas, hobbies with your partner or others in your life. Okay? Try to get to know one another on a different level. And be open towards, and this is the next thing. For some, it'll be a time where, because Venus will still be going through Virgo and Libra season, the sun will still be going through Libra. Some of you are going to be criticized. But it all depends on how you take that information in. Because remember what we said, part of this is about self-improvement. So you're going to need to hear where you can improve from others. Okay? So then it's a matter of, that's when that fixed thing about like, oh, my way or the highway, or I know exactly what I need to do. Be receptive towards what others have to tell you. Okay? And then lastly, I think, especially going into, with this leading into Scorpio season, this is a time to really get into your occult bag. Lock down with that stuff. Attune Mercury into the mysteries. It's going to respond well. Go over information that you learned in the past. I'm going to advise everyone to revisit chakras. Okay? Part of my interpretation of this is just about observing like chakras and you know, okay, how would this transit, you know, affect this chakra? And I feel like, you know, for this one in particular, in addition with the Mars retrograde, root chakra work, sacral chakra work, solar plexus work is all going to be of importance. And then lastly, like, you know, the third eye. So connect with your chakras. Go over information that you learned in the past and revisit it in a new light. Okay, that can help trigger your downloads as well. I'm telling you, this going into 2021, this is the retrograde that we need to rebalance ourselves. Because let's be honest, people, 2020 has been a shit show. For some, it's been well needed, like the quarantine and the step away from the material world. But it, you know, that 12th house type of energy just can make you feel like you're floating. This is where we get our footing again. Alright? So, I'm not going to do this through houses, because I believe everything in which I said holds weight towards everyone. Okay, and you just further use your Mercury faculties to see, like, okay, how can I further take advantage of this within my own personal chart? All right, so it's my interpretation of this year's last Mercury retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. Feel free to chime in. Let me know what's going on in your world. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, feel free to do so now. If you need a reading, holla at me. Until next time, peace.